I haven't started yet. I'm just pretending. Here we are. I know it's not quite noon. Can you hear me? Hell if I know. All right. Oh, here, we need some light. Are you there? Oh, where did my light thing go? Oh, there it is. All right. Ooh, yeah, nice, nice. Okay. Okay, so do I want these guys or those guys? I don't know. Ah, oh no, don't do that. All right. All right. I think I am on. Hello. Not talking to you yet because I'm still trying to get organized. I'll talk to you at noon. In the meantime, if anyone's there, it'd be nice if you tell me if you could hear me because I don't know. Let me see. Is that on? That's on. Oh, I know. Here we go. Okay, I'm learning. There we go. Headphones. Okay, is that coming through? Headphones. Okay. And microphone. Yep. Okay. So there's that. All right, so I don't hear myself. That's not okay. Huh? Okay. That's not okay. Where am I? Now, do I hear me? A little bit. All right, let's get that up here. Is that better? Now, do I hear me? All right, do I hear me? I don't. Let's make it louder. Headphones. Now, do I hear me? Oh, that's better. Okay, couldn't find myself. All right. Okay, there's that. You know, people, this is so hard for an old lady. I am not a techie, but you know what? This is fun, and I love new things, and I love trying. That's my favorite thing. I love to try. I love it. Now, am I there yet? Not quite. Okay, there's that. How's my gain? Oh, we need more gain. There we go. Ha 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 ha. Oh, yeah, do some ASMR. Let me ASMR you. Should I do the whole thing like that? I could. Shall I? I'm very Neptunian. I can act. So, my friends, how do you like my ASMR astrology? Is this what you want from me? I do not know. Well, I'll just stay in the lower range. This is fun. I love it. Okay. My mom always said I was a ham bone. I love the attention, but who doesn't really? Who doesn't love some attention, right? Okay. I've been watching Lionel Nation. He's hilarious. I love him. He's my idol, my new idol. So, can you see my whole grid? You're missing the earthy part. Let me go down. See, the earth is right there. Okay, and there's the top one. The top one is there. That, yeah. All right, so there we go. Now, am I there yet? Is it noon? 1 minute and counting. All right. 1 minute and counting. Now I have fun stuff to show you on the screen, right? But I can't do it on the screen, on the electronic part, because I don't know how to work it yet. But I do have visuals for you. It's so much better if you can like click from one screen to the other and all that fancy stuff. And one day maybe I will grow up and know how. But right now, I'm just doing this just between us. Okay. All right. So there's that guy. Now, are we here? Okay, we're here. Let's do it. Let us begin. Let us begin. My name, where's my script? I'm Jules Starsinger, by the way. And you know what I do? I do astrology and I do other stuff. And I use astrology as my primary language because it's like a framework I can hang all of my ideas on. So that's how I use it. And one of my third husband and first astrology teacher, Mr. Roger, is one time I said something astrological and he said, "Jewel, you are no astrologer." And because he was mean, he said mean things, Mercury, Pluto. But I think that was a good thing because what happened is I have just gone out from there. And there are awesome astrologers to be seen, and go see them. They're, like I could name names and I will. But my point being, I'm not exactly an astrologer. I use the language of astrology so that because they're characters in a play to me, and those names evoke like a shorthand for a meaning. So that's where I'm coming from with astrology, and a lot of people know it, or used to, because nowadays we don't really know the classical Greek stuff anymore, not so much. All right, so Jules Starsinger here. I like to ask you, what is your story? Do you realize that how you tell your story will define how you live your life? This really matters. And it's not that the words are that important, because words are important, but what's really important is how you feel about your words and how you imagine they mean. Imagination, how do you imagine the word means? So my theme today is, it was hard to, I picked this, I don't know why, it's just so weird, but I picked because I said so. And I was thinking about, there's a lot of censorship these days, and there's a lot of Karenism, like tattletaling, and a lot of victimization, and oh wow, poor me. Oh wow, poor me. There's so much poor me, and I'm thinking, what's going on? I'm into yin and yang. I'm into the male female thing that makes one, and so I express it as gods. Because I think having the expression of one God I think it's not so great. I think I don't care what it is. I don't know what it is. I'm just a person, right? But if I were to say there's one God and I call him he and he lives somewhere else, then how the heck is anything here and now any good? Right? So we're looking at, how about we just say it differently and we think different a little bit? And oh, I didn't turn off my phone, did I? Okay, never mind. So we say two gods, one's a lady, one's a man. And what's the product of their union is creation. What's wrong with that? It's very holy, it's very lovely. And they both make sacrifices. They both sacrifice. The masculine, the yang, sacrifices his energy to go into the physical, into his goddess wife. And she, just by the virtue of her being, sacrifices her autonomy, her individuality, by accepting, by receiving his energy. It takes two, people. It takes two. But you're not two, you are the one. And so all of this trans stuff, and don't get me I'm not going to say anybody's bad or wrong here. But what I'm trying to explain is that we are not, we are one sex, but we're made from two energies that come together in a union that could be described as sexual, but it's metaphysical. And so, what are we? We are then metaphysical. Meta, left brain boy energy, physical, right brain girl energy. We're both, but we're one. And we're expressing with our bodies, we're expressing one or the other. And there's plenty of brain science to tell you that women and men think quite differently. Plenty of it. If you want me to go into it, I will, but no, I'm too spacey to get the details. I'm not a detail girl. But I can look at all of the research and appreciate the minds that have gone into it and the scientific rigor that they've used to really understand it. And their machines are awesome. And the fMRIs, and they look at your brain. And this gadget I bought, see this gadget, that thing keeps the Wi-Fi off of me for 35 feet around me. I mean, technology is great, and it's yang. And that's the boy stuff. And we love that. And girls have boy energy and boys have girl energy because boys have a body. And girls have boy energy because we have a mind. So we're both. But you can't change your physical body. You've got to accept who you are. Now, in that line of thought, I wanted to just tell you that when I was a little girl, I was envious of the boys. The boys had this joy of living and this freedom that was just mind boggling. And I would sit in my little quiet space and just watch them. And they would go, "Oh, Julie, come on and just take off your shirt and play with us." And I'm like, no, that's terrifying. But that's me. I have the ability to display and act and be in public, but my nature is deeply feminine, and I am deeply protective of myself because what does the feminine do? She's waiting to be invaded by any kind of masculine energy because she needs it. But she has to decide which one she will receive. Now, the top goddess, the one at the very top, she doesn't distinguish or discriminate. She says, let it all in. I love you. If you're bad or good, I don't care. I love you all. So that's the unconditional love part. But if you look at the one below her, that's the crone energy. And she's the one in the castle with the tiny windows. And she says, I'm not letting you in until I know who you are. So that's the feminine. Now, the liberals in politics have said, oh, let them all in, right? And now we're looking at this thing where we're saying, that's a little bit much. And so what we need to do is have some more crone energy. I'm learning how to point this and say, no, we're not going to do everything. Some things are not okay. We're not going to accept everything anymore. And so we're done with that. And so that's the process we're in right now. Now, what I wanted to talk about today, because I said so, is because according to my graphics up here, I think because I said so is a way to shut people down. It's like shorthand to say shut up. Because I said so. Why are you making me walk across the street at the corner in the crosswalk? Because I said so. I made it a rule. Well, why did you make it a rule? Because one time somebody went in the middle and they got hurt. And say, yeah, but that doesn't mean I'm going to do that. How do you know I'm going to? Well, because it happened once. Well, you see, because I said so. I made it a rule because it happened once and now I say so. This is the kind of rigidity of the feminine, of the crone, and there's a purpose to it. And so, what I want to explain over and over to everyone, including me, is that these processes they come to us at different levels. All right, so here we go. Now, can you hear me now? Yeah. All right. So, in other words, these different levels of because I said so happen in the metaphysical world. They happen in the metaphysics. So, at this point, this is at the top chakra. This is where we let everything happen. This is the realm of chaos up here. Do I need more gain on that? Let me see here. Is that better? More gain, a little more gain on that one. Hello, hello, hello. I don't know. I hope this works. So at the top, we have the supernals. This is the Big Bang. This is where the first union of the two has happened. Now, if you see this little diagram, there are multitudes of these turtles all the way down. So there's one of these above this and one of these below this. And that gives the shape of the universe, which is like an hourglass. It's wide and then it narrows down into the one and then it bursts open into the two. Because what happens, you've got the two making a one in the middle, and then the one, this is the heart, this is the union of, this is the sex union, and then this is the new baby and mother here. And then that's going to be, that's the birth here is like another big bang. It's like an explosion. Another being is coming out of the union, the experience of union. And that's the same as up at the top, but here it is it's like atomic, like the two atoms, right? What is it when the two atoms come together or are blown apart? So when they come together, it's fission. No, it's fusion. I don't know. At the top, it's where they come together, and at the bottom, it's where they burst apart, where they're divided into two again. But you've got the mother and child there. I know this is weird, but to me, it makes sense because guess what? I'm one of these people. I like the spiritual perspectives and explanations and it's hard to do that in words because spirit has this kind of spirit. The lady spirit is wordless. All right. Because I said so is like the brakes. So like when they tell you have to follow their rules, you need to know whose rules they are and they won't tell you. That's not okay. That's tyrannical. So we're moving now into a because I said so culture. And it also includes the fact that here in Oregon, pretty soon, if they pass this bill, I just saw, they're going to be able to put a person in jail. They could come to my door and say, you said a mean thing and you have to pay money and go sit in the corner with bars in front of you because you said a mean thing and made somebody cry. I don't think this is really going in the right direction. This is a little too much crone energy. And although we see that we've been in a society that we call patriarchy for so long, a lot of our patriarchy is actually not very yang. It's quite yin. In other words, it's controlling and it's rigid. Because on the left side of the pillar, that lady pillar is called the pillar of severity. And the pillar of the right side, the masculine, is called the pillar of mercy. And in the middle, we have the pillar of equilibrium. And you can see those behind me. You can't see them all because of my head, but that's okay. You get the idea. My point being that equilibrium is the middle pillar, and that's our reality. That is where we are, who we are, when and how we are, in the middle. Now, this is why I love the Taoist perspective, because they talk about the middle path, and that is where we are. Now, if we say, oh, do what I say because I said so, it doesn't allow for any flow. It doesn't allow for any expression. And the feminine the upper realms of the feminine require that we express ourselves in nonverbal ways. In other words, I feel you. Have you ever had anybody say that to you? I feel you. That's kind of cool. That is very cool. Because it's saying these words don't really cut it. These words are not cutting it. Okay. Oh, here's an Olympics thing. I can't screenshot because I'm on the PC and I don't know how to work it very well. But when the Mac comes back and I can do screenshots and I learn how to share my screen, I'll show you that on my screen. In the meantime, I have visual aids, and here we go. So in the Olympic closing, they have a big Olympic circle wheel thingy doodler, and they have it sort of buried halfway down in the stage. And they have at the end all these little characters like little pawns or like they're just in these gray nondescript suits. It kind of reminds me of the outfits that they wore in THX 1138, which is a movie that George Lucas made, his first movie. And all the people were dressed in these sort of condom outfits. That was like you were just sort of nondescript. They were white in his movie, and they're gray in this particular thing. But what it's saying is, it's making us sexless and sort of anonymous, but it has that Aquarian quality too of the people, right? But as they raise this circle up, and there's like maybe I don't know, it looks like maybe 100 people in gray condom suits, and here they are, and they're all at the bottom, and that circle's going up, and the golden Voyager is on it, right? And they're like, oh, and the circle's rising up. I don't know if the people who did this understood the symbolism that they were using, but hello, it looked just like this to me. Yeah, there we go. The judgment card. This is very Plutonic. I mean, if you can go in and just go to YouTube and go Olympic closing ceremony, you'll see this. And it looks just like the judgment card. It just blew my mind. I just thought, there's so much iconography in that ceremony, the opening and the closing, that's just all tarot. It's amazing. All right. So there's that. Because I said so. Is it tyrannical? I think it is. Does it piss you off? Yes, it pisses me off. Because I need, it pisses me off because I'm a Gemini with a Taurus cloak. And so for me, I've got to touch everything. I always say I'm like a toddler. I've got to taste it, like how toddlers pick up dirt and bugs and put it in your mouth. Well, that's Taurus because what Taurus needs is the tactile. It's a physical experience. And so when you put the mind inside a physical body, the mind doesn't understand things by ideas. I don't understand ideas at all. I understand filio. I call it filia because it's a wordplay. Because filia is the Italian word for daughter. It's spelled Figlia, and it's in English it looks like figlia, and they say filia, and but I call it philia, like feel, Feelia, philia. So that's my thing. I say, oh, I do philia. So in other words, I understand things by how I've experienced them more than I do by how I've heard them. You can tell me stuff and I'll, how will I deal with it? I'll write it down. I'll make a diagram. I had so many diagrams. Here we go. There we go. There are my diagrams on my wall, and that's only a few. It's like, okay, girl, perpetual kindergarten for me. But what I bring to my clients too is that I can tell a story and I can dip myself into a different place than the words, into a place of feeling. And then the talent is translation. And that's what Mercury does. Mercury is the messenger that brings the word. And the word is the idea. And it's born on the wind. And it just brushes over Venus, the censor, and she then repeats it out with sound. She doesn't tell you the word through words. She tells it through sound, through vibration. So, and that's these guys. Yeah, here we go. That's these guys. This is the wind, and this is the nature receiving the wind, and the wind is pushing the idea into it. And what do you hear in nature? You hear bird song, you hear the sound of the surf, you hear nature, right? You hear it. It doesn't tell you anything in words when you're in nature. You are in the philia of being alive. And then it comes together in this pink one, right? And the pink one is Mars. That's the union. So Mars really isn't masculine, not in every sense. Mars is a union. It's where, but it is yang. It is yang. Why? Because it is that initiatory action. It's thoughtless. Mars is thoughtless. Mars represents the first cut. And the reason I have it in the center pillar as a neutral reality rather than on the masculine side is because you cannot cut if you don't cut something. In other words, if without a victim, there's no murder. There's no murderer. The event doesn't happen unless you have both. The spear, if it doesn't hit a target, if it doesn't split the veil, then nothing happened, you see. So I'm rationalizing it in the middle, and that Mars is the active union. I don't know if is it the orgasm? Is it I think it's the orgasm, because I think that conception and orgasm are two things. Anyway, working on that. All right. So because I said so, someone told me to do something and they wanted me to do it. Why? Because their agenda, but they won't tell me what their agenda is. And problem is, a lot of times they don't know. A lot of times we don't know our own agenda. You know, it's like we're clueless a lot. That's why this kind of work is important, is to give yourself a clue. You know, why are you lonely? Do you know? Are you lonely? Are you sad? Are you brave? Are you strong? Are you weak, sexy, dull, bright? You could be all of those things, but maybe one or two of those things are more prominent than others, than the other parts of you. And if you can identify those parts, and you do that with these stories, with your story, then it gives you direction, and that gives you power. It's like when you are driving your car and you know where you're going, doesn't it seem like the drive is shorter? Maybe it's better not to know where you're going, because then the drive would be longer. The drive, in other words, is the life. Maybe that's why as children, time seems to be eternal. We don't know where we're going. And as we get older, we know where we're going. So it shortens. That's what all the old people tell me. I wouldn't know because I can't have a clue. I'm the perennial kid. Because I said so. So in other words, someone else, when they tell you because I said so, is telling you how to do you through their lens. And that's why it pisses you off. And that's why it's really not okay, I think. I think it's not okay. Because I said so it's a boot on the neck. And when people are telling us in politics and culture today to act certain ways and say certain things because they say so, we need to resist that, because that is tyranny. That is a boot on the neck. I get to say my thoughts. And if you don't like my thoughts, then you can turn it off. Turn off the machine. You can turn the other cheek and walk away. My thoughts don't really have to affect you, but they can, because depending on how does that work? Someone tell me. Thoughts are things. We hear all that. Um, what you think of me is none of my business. We used to say that. But I think it kind of is, because there's a part of us that needs to belong. And how do we belong if we feel like nobody likes us, right? What club can we join? And if we join that club and then we change our mind, do we have the courage to get out of that club and find a different club? That's all religion is a club. A club. Ooh. A club. A club. Oh, it's a group or it's a weapon. A club is a weapon. Do what I say, because I said so. Join my club or I will club you. Do you want to be clubbed, as in joined in, or do you want to be clubbed, as is injured? Clubbing. Ooh. Clubbing, that's tribal. That's the bottom. That's the bottom. The clubbing. The moon. Yeah, see there? I know it's far away, but let me tell you what's on there. It's the village, the collective. Let me make sure I'm heard here. It's the village, it's the collective, it's Shekinah, the goddess. It's the kingdom of God. In other words, God cannot be seen unless he gets into a body, unless he shares his energy with his wife, the physical. All right. And so this moon, and this is the moon and earth, the bottom one, the realm. God lives in us on earth, in our heads and around our bodies and all around us, right? And so the mother child, the nursing baby, that's what represents, that's what the moon is in astrology. And that's the kingdom. Because what it's saying is that, I don't know if you know this, but I'll tell you how the nursing works. Because when the baby cries, the milk in the breast lets down. That's called letting down. And the letdown is painful. It hurts. And so the mother rushes over to the baby for the baby to suck that out, because that relieves the pressure and the pain. Nothing in life comes without pain. We're supposed to have pain. It's part of the beauty. So when mothers don't nurse their babies, they don't get the connection, the symbiotic connection. And I've often thought that, in last century, in the 1920s, it became very popular to feed the babies with bottles so the women could be freed up from that drudgery of nursing. But what they forgot was that once the baby is nursing, there are hormones of joy and peace that are released in the mother's body, and that is the God's way of making her stay and complete this process of nurture. And I don't know if you realize it, but the mothers of infant animals lick their little bottoms when they poo. So the mother feeds and cleans. And that's what Earth does for us. Earth feeds and cleans the body of God. It's very important that we resacralize the physical. For too long, we have been in a society and a culture where God is one dude who lives somewhere else. And we're going to go there when we die. You see how that makes this so wrong? Keep God, all you Christians and Mohammedans and Jews, all of you, keep your God. Just let him get married. God should be a married man, because that will open up life to what it should be, which is a sacred, joyful event, an excursion. And in my world, my belief, which I have chosen for myself through my studies of all these metaphysics and the yin and the yang and the astrology and the enneagram and all of these storied ways to understand, what I have come to is that we are as gods. We are as gods. We are here to explore and understand the two. The yin and the yang are so different. The key and the keyhole, two different things. Totally not knowing what the other one is. Completely unaware of the properties of being the other until they come together and the key turns and the door opens. And here we are at the open doorway, looking at ourselves. Important stuff, people. This is very simple and maybe not, because isn't life ironic? Isn't it ironic at its best? Because I said so ends the story, and we mustn't be ending these stories. We must allow ourselves to explore and to go forward, but with caution, because the feminine says, let's be careful. She says, we don't want just any random bozo in charge. We have to be gingerly. And how does that feel? And what is that thought? And should I adopt that thought or should I let go of that thought? That's what the feminine does. She's the one that parses out what to choose in our heads. And because we've been told she's weak, because we've been told that she's emotional, that we don't want to listen to her. But why do you spend a third of your life dreaming in dream time? Why do you need that? And why do you die if you can't sleep? Because that's when you're in her realm and that's where she's speaking to you. That's why dream is so important. And whether you remember it or not, sleeping deeply for long periods is important, because that's where she has her conversation, where you taste, where you touch inside. And actually outside, because I really think that we're more than just contained in this container. Because I said so ends the story. We need to go above that ended story to the higher goddess, where everything is possible. And then when we awaken, we wake up a little bit and we go, okay, now let's parse it out. Because the next goddess down is Saturn and Capricorn. And the reason that Capricorn is the devil is because you'll see that the people have chains, but they're very loose and they can remove their chains. This is a reference to being addicted to the substances of life rather than the essence of the substance. There's a difference. In other words, appreciating what you've got and what you've attained, but not thinking that's the end of the story. Because once again, when you say, because I said so, it ends the story. And that's what happens here. The end of the story. But you can relieve yourself from the chains by saying, well, wait a minute, there's more to the story. There's more to your story, more to my story. There's always more to the story, all right? And so saying, because I said so, is kind of tyrannical. But as you can see in the card, you don't have to be subject to a tyrant. You don't. All you have to do is lift off the chain and say, enough already, enough. And then what happens? You move into, who is that goddess that runs that story? That's Saturn. Saturn isn't a man, it's a woman. Saturn is a crone, and she is an elder. And now in this card, they have her young and pretty busty and all that. But the truth of Saturn is that she is the elder goddess of the physical. And she's attained whatever she's attained. So you can look at older women and say, what have you done? What have you got? The accomplishments. And that goes for all humans, female and male of all ages. At every stage in our life, we have accomplished something. And that would be represented in the world card. It would say, yeah, I finished my homework. Ta-da! Oh, I got my job today, and that I worked for years, and now I got my favorite job. Ta-da! And that's what the world card represents. And I've attained 74 years in good health. Ta-da! These things are tactile. And the things of the world are the things you touch, taste, smell, hear. That's kind of okay. So there's that. And okay, so then the masculine side of that would be Wheel of Fortune. In other words, fate goes up and down. It's nondescript and it's a lot about beliefs and stuff. And then Temperance is the other side, because Temperance says, I'm going to purify my thoughts. I'm going to make better thoughts. And that's what religion tries to do. And that's what faith is. And I think faith is actually, I've been working on this lately. To me, faith says, I'm actually alive by faith. Without faith, I'll die. I think faith supports the world. I think this is a pair. And you need to we purify our thoughts in good faith so that we can accomplish in the world something that matters to us. Now, the problem is that if religion becomes so embedded that we think it is real, right? If we start to believe that our religion is real, that's when we get into that because I said so. This card is because I said so. Do it because I said so. And this card is like, well, maybe it's good and maybe it's not. Do I really need this? Do I really want this? And then this guy, Jupiter, he says, today I think I'll put on a different outfit. He says, today it was easy, but maybe it won't be so easy tomorrow. The Wheel of Fortune. In other words, our fortunes go up and down. And the way to maintain our joy, because this is the mercy guy, the way we maintain our joy is by accepting and knowing it goes up and down. Philosophy. That's the philosopher. Why? Because if you can manage your words and your thoughts in a way that makes it okay that you had some ill fortune, and find a way to justify that in your mind so that you're not just whining and oh, poor meing, that's the success that you find in the wheel. Because you will be tested. Whatever you do, you will be tested. And it might be hard, and you will be tested. And then you get stuck on something, and that's a test. They go together. So, because I said so, that's what parents said to their children, because I said so. And we hated it, and we still do as children. We hate it when our ruling bodies tell us because I said so. And I think laws are like that. I think the laws that they're trying to enforce now are because I said so. I am born, and that's why men and women saying that they're the opposite sex, that they aren't, is a because I said so law. And it's not good. It's not a good thing. It's tyrannical. And we need to address it and stop it because it's going to make for some very unpleasant results for our hearts. This is hurting our hearts. This is hurting love. The people who are demanding to be loved because they said so are hurting us and themselves. Love is something that can't be demanded. You can't demand it. You can't stomp on a neck and say, love me. Love me or else? Not okay. Not okay. All right, I'm almost done with this, but I have another comment. So say, why are men standing down? Because a lot of men are allowing some pretty bad things to happen to their male children in medical offices. I'll just say that. Men are traumatized. They're traumatized by this machine that I'm using today. Evidently, there's a lot of pornography, and the young are looking at it, and it's pretty vile. I don't know about it because I don't even dare research it. I'm not going to. I have heard people I trust say this, and that I'm going to leave it at that because I trust these people that they know what they're saying. And okay, so the men are traumatized by media porn. The women have been trained to be victims. Oh, poor me. I'm just a lady. You're being mean to me. You're looking at me weird. I don't like it. Making me sad. Wah. So the men are being trained to observe horrific sex acts on a screen, to be observers of horror and get off on it, or learn how to be a predator. And the yang is predatory. And humans do have a predatory side. And we do need to kill an animal and eat it now and then. Because the ladies bleed. We need the red meat. We need it. You see how this works? Irony, irony, constant irony. All right, so all of that is happening. But guess what else? There's this subtle thing that I'm not hearing in conjunction with these ideas and these spiritual awarenesses and all that, because there's also the environment that is overestrogenated. Do you know what that means? That's the taints are getting less wide in the boys. That's the space between their anus and their balls is getting smaller. Smaller taints, frogs, boy frogs turning into girl frogs. What's going on? The planet is overestrogenated. And ever since we got the oil stuff, it's estrogenating the planet because oil is Neptunian, and that's the top goddess in my little chart. And she is all about mystification. She's mystifying. She is all encompassing and she accepts all, even if it's gross. She doesn't care. Just bring it in. So there's this unfiltered sort of okayness to horror. Overestrogenated world with plastic, and plastic comes from oil. And guess what? When we drive our cars on the asphalt, every time the wheels turn, it creates estrogen in the air. Our highways are feminine. Everybody gets feminized there. So what happens when we're over feminized? The women get more feminine and the men get more feminine. But the permutations of femininity are not that femininity is just pink, girly, frilly girl suits and crying and whining. No, there is a crone that's feminine, and she is a big boss, and she is strict, and she is a sadist if you let her get out of hand. She's the tyrant. So what's happening is when we get unbalanced and we lose our center and we go to one side and then the other, too wide of an extreme, we need to narrow our path here. Oh, shit. Okay. Do you know what I'm saying? Is that if we go to either extreme, it's too wide of a margin. And that's where we're at now. We need to squirt it down a little bit, a little less extreme of everything, which is why I'm on here just talking calmly and not screaming at anybody. And I'm also mincing my words. Let's mince our words. Okay. How's that sound? And try and be more center. In spite of the horrors that are being shown to us, because we are seeing extreme horror on a screen, flashy lights, hypnotically. We're being hypnotized to accept horror. And we need to back away. Dim your screen, turn it off. Listen to me, and then shut it down and go talk to someone. Okay, I'm ending my stream now. Thank you for listening, and I will do it again next week at noon on Sunday here on YouTube. And you can check me out at my Substack and all the other little details I've written down in the notes. Bye for now.